Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night of Behind Black Business. This is a podcast that is sponsored by our nonprofit organization, Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities. And we have our two very, very, very special guests here tonight, uh, Maggie Brown, who is the daughter of the great Oscar Brown Jr. and the great Bobby Irvin, who produced and Miles Davis's albums, and he played with Miles. And these are two people who understand music. And they are also two people who know Chicago. And so and they are working with us. They have so graciously volunteered to help us in our latest campaign. And I want to thank them for coming tonight, Maggie and Bobby.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having us.
glad,
I'm
I'm
glad.
glad to be here.
Absolutely. And as you know, audience, Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities, we started in an effort to try to do something about the circulation of dollars in the Black community. We look around the Black community and see how it looks everywhere you go. You see the same thing: abandoned buildings, lack of businesses, a lot of poverty, desolate areas. And we know that this is because of a lack of investment, resources into our communities. And unfortunately, we have many people from other countries, have wonderful cultures, but of course, we know they come here for a better way of life. However, they open up businesses in our communities and they do not give back. They do not hire. They won't do business with other Black entrepreneurs. They won't give other Black businesses an opportunity to provide them services. They do not invest in our causes. And they're certainly not serving as role models for our children. And this is having a very negative impact on our community. And so that's why we decided to try and uplift and strengthen our businesses. So within our organization, with the dollars we raise, we try to do what we can to help those businesses, because there are a lot of resources out here, but many of our businesses are not getting access to these resources. So we just recently sponsored two businesses um, with getting websites built so that people will know where they are and who they are, and they can enhance their marketing. And so we did that. And we also want to raise dollars to bring in business managers and help improve decorums. With the podcast, we are increasing networking. Let's see, do I still have both of my people here? There we go. With our podcast, we're enhancing our networking of our businesses. Every week, we bring a Black-owned business onto the podcast so that you have an opportunity to know that there are a lot of businesses out here. And then with our public policy division, right now, there's a major emphasis on the Black bookstores. And we are asking or demanding that our mayor look at the school budget and take some dollars from the school budgets where they purchase books and use some of those dollars and give contracts to our Black bookstores. And this will enable our bookstores to thrive more. We once had 22 Black bookstores in Chicago, and now we only have 3. And this is definitely playing out. The lack of bookstores, the lack of reading is definitely playing out on our streets today. And so that's a conversation that we are going to have with Maggie and Bobby. And so, Maggie, are you there?
I absolutely am. Yeah, I was just
Oh,
trying to resituate, just trying to resituate my camera,
okay.
so my phone, so I wouldn't have to hold it. I'm definitely here.
Okay, great, great, great. Well, First of all, I would like to give both of you an opportunity to let everyone know who you are, and I definitely want to do that because you can definitely give more information about that. Who you are as musicians and citizens of the city of Chicago. So Maggie, you want to start?
Okay. Okay, sure. Maggie Brown, as you mentioned, my father's Oscar Brown Jr. and my grandfather Oscar Brown Sr., who came up in the Great Migration to Chicago from Mississippi. He and his brothers raised the fare one by one to get their education from Howard University. And he became a lawyer and a real estate broker, and he helped Black people in the very early times of our arrival here in the city to start businesses, to actually buy condos, and he had worked to start a 49th state when there were only 48 states in the Union. So a lot of people, of course, always give OBJ, my dad, Oscar Brown Jr., credit, but our grandfather was a race man, and he influenced Dad. And though Dad was due to be a lawyer, he went into show business and writing and became a very prolific poet and deep thinker, and so he's one of the greatest influences in my life. As I was a little girl, I knew that I wanted to probably be in show business and sing, and I was a ham. I wasn't shy, to perform in front of people, even from a young age. And so, though Daddy didn't live with me, by the time I was 3, he didn't live at the house with me. I lived with my mother and my other siblings. But anytime we could, we went and saw him and watched him, and were ushers or something, handed out programs and did something. And then that took hold, and those people influenced me to go in other directions that are more stable than show business. I definitely gravitated toward it and gravitated toward the business of it, knowing that I could see the reaction of the audience and how I felt about what he was doing on stage. And I knew it should be a lot more made of it, from a young age. And so I've always taken it upon myself to try to handle that business side. So as a steward now of the Oscar Brown Jr. Archive Project, my sister Africa and I work in partnership to make sure that the stuff is real documented, understood as far as we knew it, and what Daddy left in the way of clues, so that it can be passed on to the world. And I always say it's like discovering August Wilson and Duke Ellington, and name one of the greatest poets. Okay, they always hold up Shakespeare, whatever. Like discovering a great plethora of material and outpouring from all 3 of those categories, because he was prolific in all 3. And wasn't about just getting paid, but you know how it is, y'all. The reality is real, but then there's this narrative, and he was never supporting the narrative, but dealing with the truth. And therefore it scared them, and they suppressed his career enough so that most children don't know about him.
Sure.
But they know about 50 Cent and little, chicks that'll come out here telling you how to perform sexual acts. And it's really a travesty, because he was all about like going in and dealing with our youth and showing them, turning them on to the beauty and talent that is there, so that they see that don't go for the okie doke. Don't think that you have to be gangbangers and criminalize your whole neighborhood. And that's not the way. We have something much more beautiful than that. I know that was a long answer, but so I watched him do that and be about that. And so now, I can't really get very far away from that kind of activity myself.
Well, you're doing a beautiful job. Your music and your poetry, definitely a wonderful extension of your father. He was a
and it affords me grace to like be so well, thought of just off the bat by like a Bobby Irving. When I first meet great people that have accomplished a lot of things, and like you say, have great respect for the music and the cultural aspect of what this is, not just so much trying to get on charts. So that's the best thing about it. Being able to because of Daddy's planting seeds to be well thought of, or to at least get in the door, because people think highly of him and what he left.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Maggie. Okay, Bobby.
Well, even before I say anything about myself, I just want to also add that, Oscar Brown Jr. was just a cultural genius, and people just don't realize the magnitude of the many things that he's done for the youth. And one thing that comes to mind is the project that he did with the Blackstone Rangers.
Mm-hmm. We're about to get that out real big too.
Yeah, and that was just amazing. Talking about gangbangers,
Mhm.
he actually took a gang and taught them theater and acting, and they actually performed a piece of his. That's for me. That is just beyond anything that I had ever seen or heard of coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I counted a pleasure and a privilege to have worked with your dad on a few.
You were there. You were there on his last days.
I was there. I was there in the
Last
room
days
with him,
too.
and I considered him a dear friend. He attended my parties, and he was just a really rare human being. And you talk about the young generation not knowing him, but in fact, I often tell the story that when about 10 years ago, a certain professor at Columbia College asked his students how many knew the name Miles Davis, and out of 50 students, only 4 raised their hands.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so,
No, it's not.
and now that we've gotten to a point where even there are adults who just were not exposed to jazz or to Miles, and I was asked recently, is he still alive? Miles died in 1991.
Mhm.
So I think we have to do a much better job of
Right.
educating and of preserving the legacies and carry on the legacies the way that Maggie doing for her dad. And I'm sure he'd be very happy and proud of what she's doing. So I mentioned Miles Davis, of course. And when you work with someone like Miles Davis for 9 years the way I did, then it doesn't matter what else you do with because everybody just remembers that and everybody associates you with that. And there was a point in time when Wallace Roney, who was mentored by Miles, when he and I both would refuse to do Miles tribute performances because we felt not that we didn't honor Miles and respect his legacy, but that we felt that people were using that in order to sell tickets rather than to really care about what that history and legacy was.
Exactly.
On a deeper level.
Yeah.
And so, but nevertheless, those are things that we can't get away from. I was with Miles from 1978 when I moved back to Chicago. I was only 26 years old. And so to find myself with a master who had changed the course of music 5 times
Right.
at the age of 26, and just a few years later to be entrusted with being his musical director and confidant, for me was something that maybe I took for granted then, But now I've realized the importance of it to a greater degree because my generation is the last generation in Maggie's that had direct connection with those masters. And so everybody else is just going to hear about them, but we actually were with them. And
Sat at the feet of the masters, right.
absolutely. And so we can talk more about my history later, but I'm a mentor, educator. I've worked with the Jazz Institute.
Master musician. You didn't interrupt me. But no, man, the baddest thing, man, I got to witness was what Robert Irving III did for once commissioned to celebrate and illustrate who Baba Timuel Black was,
That's right.
for his centenarian birthday celebration. That was, man, yeah, yeah. What was I watched the thing about Tina Turner. It was like, good Lord, everybody would just always bring up Ike, and I know that's not quite similar, but just the point of like, people who don't really know and they're just stuck on one little thing, and it's not to say that Miles ain't something to be stuck on, or what happened to Tina wasn't, but it's like, y'all, there's so much more to me than that, or and not that it's an insult, but just that, yeah, that's the way the industry is. But
Yeah.
see, Bobby, the reason he has that appreciation for Dad and would offer me that respect is just because, we live this music, we are this art, and yeah, we got to make a living. And it makes sense to make, dollars that we're going to need to pay our rent and everything, doing what we love. But, it's a really another kind of outpouring. And he does it really, really well, and in a very versatile way, could be called on for many things. So, and even like with me, okay, maybe I do some other things too. And I don't mind the fact that, yeah, people are always going to say, well, this is Oscar's daughter, because that's important to me, man. That would impress me. So, if Natalie didn't want to mention that, duh, stupid. I mean, why not? Come on.
Right.
Open doors, you can walk in. Why not, herald the person to help you open the door and walk in? But yeah, but there's a lot we do, and like I say, because it's really it's like a way of appreciating this gift of music and talent that we have, but to see that it's Oscar called it being HIP, which stood for Human Improvement Potential, HIP, Human Improvement Potential.
Wow.
If it's about truth, if it's about wisdom, if it's about compassion, then it's HIP. If it's not about that, then it ain't. Excuse me for showing my palm. I'm just saying, it's like, and so, yeah, there need to be thought campaigns. I was thinking in the 60s, there were Black is Beautiful, I'm Black and I'm Proud, whatever. It was just things that we would put out and things we would say to help empower us and make us kind of think more on the one. And we have gotten so far away from that, with our little gotta be entertained at every minute selves, and the stuff that's being put on to entertain us is like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, the idea of entertaining ourselves with something other than the criminality and the deceit and deception and violence of human existence, that's going to take a big change. That's going to take a change to convince people that, hey, check it out. I bet you could be entertained by something that didn't include bombing and shooting people and selling coke and, abusing life. Imagine that,
Yeah.
Man. And so a Black bookstore, a Black think tank, a Black space where you can come and try to get hip, maybe have discussions and look deeper into what is transpired and what we, want, we aspire to, is very, very crucial. 3 of them in Chicago.
21.
That's such a shame. And, it don't even seem like a crime to hardly nobody. And that alone is, that all that's ridiculous. So it's a lot of comfortably numb activity going on out here. We just comfortably numb, man.
And see,
there's no way.
We're being culturally deprived. When you talk about us not having our bookstores, once had 22 bookstores. I read as far as back in the 40s when we didn't have so many bookstores, but we had books everywhere. And then you can go back. You go back to slavery when they didn't even want us to read. You could be killed for trying to learn how to read, to show you how powerful reading is. And Bobby, we were having a discussion earlier, and maybe you can put a little more dialogue to this. When we're talking about the libraries in back in the Day in the Thieves, when they burned
Oh, way back.
Yeah. So in Egypt, there were certain times when Egypt would be invaded after the death of a pharaoh, and that left the citizens very vulnerable to attack. And so you had the Arabs, the Greeks, the Arabs, and finally the French And that at that point, the library was, with all of that knowledge, all of those books were burned. And it's remarkable to me that that someone would destroy culture, because that's something that they could have learned from. Egypt was particularly interesting, I thought, because most of the earlier invasions, the invaders basically took on the persona or the culture of the people they invaded. In other words, they became pharaoh. They placed themselves in those positions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so, but in this case, the culture was destroyed. And so books and knowledge, and you think about the time of the scribes when books had to be written by hand. Can you imagine, and translated into other languages by hand before the printing press? On the
Okay, Bobby, can you hold on a second? Maggie?
What? I'm always trying to get my camera. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm going nowhere. I'm just.
Okay, yeah, we had lost
Bobby was
you,
talking,
and
so I thought I'm sorry.
okay, yeah, we're hearing a little bit of
I won't
noise.
go blank again.
Okay,
I think I'm
there
good
you
now. I don't have
go.
to hold it hands free.
Okay, Bobby, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So just so you know, so the importance of books and reading is, it has been de-emphasized because of digital technology, of course, and it's parallel to what happened to the music industry as we knew it. The record industry has disappeared, and if you remember that there was a point at which when I first had released my first product, it came out on 3 configurations. It was a cassette tape, it was a vinyl, and CD. And at that time, CDs were only 20% of the market. The cassettes were 80% almost.
Very
And
nice.
so then 10 years later, it all flipped, and then the cassettes were gone, and CDs were 70% of the market, with a little bit of vinyl still being done. Then fast forward again, then you had a situation where downloads started, and then CDs started to disappear. And around 1988, I went to Yugoslavia, which was then still Eastern Bloc country per se, European country. And it was very dark and gray there. Everything, all the buildings were gray. There was no color there. It was like a black and white movie almost. And so I went to a record shop in the basement, and I go in there, and there's only a few vinyls there, and people are choosing a vinyl that they like, and they take it to the counter, and then they take it in the back and make a cassette of the music. And I thought, wow, this is weird, and this is archaic, you know, because because the artist is not getting royalties, and it's just they're just giving away the music for their own profit. But then fast forward till today, that's exactly what's happening with streaming. Exactly. Because the artist is not getting paid, and there's no more physical product. And if we don't have physical product and the internet disappears, then it's tantamount to burning down the library. Because if all you have is digital, then so I'm a strong proponent of every CD release, every music release, to at least do some physical products so that it's archived in a physical way, so that that we can always replicate it, duplicate it, and bring it back. So the same thing is happened with books, with the Kindles and the various readers, but at least with those, it's a proprietary software and configuration, and so that it's hard to steal or replicate or duplicate or copy and send anybody a ebook the way that you do an MP3. The MP3 was not encoded properly like they are doing the books, so that was a mistake. But I would say that I have a library here. I've got, I don't know how many books, probably 1,000. And when my family and friends come over, everybody's just curious to look through the library, and that's something that a lot of people don't have. And people say, well, you know, I would love to have some real books, have a real library. Well, you can. You can go right over to Frontline Books
Absolutely.
tomorrow and stock up.
Right.
Start your library.
Stock up. Right. There's even a deal where, you know, a certain donation that's going to help the store survive will help you with the start of it, whether it's $100 or $50 or, you know, so donation, they'll help you with the starting of your library. And yeah, it's just crucial. I mean, if we don't have information, if we only rely on what's on the tube and what could come over these digital platforms, no, we're going to be lost.
That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And while we want to be modern, we want to keep up with the times. We don't want, you know, technology or industry or anything to leave us behind as a people or for our children. But yeah, we talk about campaigns, you know, the campaign to value reading, the campaign to value turning pages.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is nice to have that on online and all that stuff and be able to, I can read even if I went out camping or whatever. That's great. It doesn't have to stop me. But yeah, there has to just be a foundation laid. And as we get away from those generations, so you figure, what, my grandfather, what's that? My grandfather, my father, me. Well, how long is that? That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, and they can remember when it was against the law to read and all that. And so they had a whole nother value of it and understanding. Why do you think that was the thing that was kept from us? Because it is super, super crucial.
Absolutely.
Just be an ignorant dummy by lamb falling along with whatever the little stupid new agenda is if you don't have some real knowledge and information. And it's not that everything in every book is going to be, you know, real, but it's a much better chance that you won't be out here lost just following these people that especially are so just about greed and power and money and, you know, those things will fade away. But the knowledge you'll gain from coming and reading and being part of study groups and so forth at places like a Frontline, no one can take that away from you, you know.
And, you know, I was doing some research and I found out, you know, online they have done some studies about online reading, and they've shown that online reading is having a negative impact on cognition, concentration, comprehension, absorption, and your recall rates of what you're reading are lower. And I know, and I also read, you know, that there are people that are reading online versus reading a book are 3 times less likely to enjoy the reading experience, 3 times less likely to have a favorite book. 2/3 of studies in college show that a lot of students, while they're in class, are on social media. And I know this to be true as working as a speech pathologist in the school system. When we went into COVID and the children had laptops or iPads were sent home, and you're sitting there and they're supposed to come into the Zoom or Google Meet, and you're sitting there, and just like the 3 of you are there, and I may have 2 or 3 students there, and I can tell by looking at them, they're on the screen, but they've got another screen up, and they're playing a game or they're somewhere else, and they're not even engaged in the learning experience. And so the results of these studies, you know, were showing that this performance that we're getting is playing out in a poor performance culture, and we're seeing that today.
Oh, did we ever mention the fact that on Saturday, what's happening?
Oh yeah. Well, we were
We've been on
well,
for a long time
we
without saying
sure
that part.
have. Well, yeah.
Oh, well,
Let's
maybe at the
mention that.
very top. Maybe at the top, but let's mention
Well,
it again.
no, that's okay. We can mention that. We can definitely mention that right now because the reason we're having this conversation is about Frontline Books, a Frontline bookstore that's located in Hyde Park at 5206 South Harper. They've been there for 24 years, and that has been a bookstore location from since I recall, since the 80s. It may have been longer than that, but it's been a black bookstore location. But they've been there for 24 years, and Frontline is now facing eviction. And our organization, we have reached out to every local politician, from congressmen to state reps to aldermen to other organizations. We reached out to Operation Push. Reverend Al Sampson has been trying to help us. Bob Starks have been trying to help us. It has been a daunting experience.
What has happened? What
Trying to get some
happened with the
support.
store so that it's facing eviction?
His rent has gone up to 4,000 a month, and he's behind in his rent. Now, as we know, when they did that, started doing all of that construction over in Hyde Park,
Mm-hmm.
Right, the
and
renovation of Harper
the
Court.
renovation, they tore down a lot of what was there in Harper Court, and he's
Right.
right on the north end of Harper Court, and he was
Mhm.
cut off. And I remember that
Right.
because I
Me
was
too.
going over there, and I would actually go in there extra times to try to help him because he said, "This is really hurting me."
Mhm.
And then came COVID. So I'm sure, when you're a business person, you have some, monies set aside to try to help you. And then, as we know, a lot of our black businesses, they don't get the bridge loans that help you through the difficult times, like a lot of other small businesses get. And then he hasn't gotten some of the resources that a lot of the other businesses have gotten in Hyde Park. And so he's behind. He's
Mhm.
several months behind in his rent, and he is facing eviction.
He
And
being the owner of Frontline Books. We're
pardon
talking
me?
about Frontline Books in Harper Court being in danger of having to close because of
That's right.
back rent and back bills. That therefore, myself, Maggie Brown, and Robert Irving III will be doing a concert on
That's right.
Saturday, the 7th, in the afternoon at Frontline in Harper Court. Please come out, buy books, come listen to the music, and make sure that you support. You can make a donation even before then, anytime, right, Denise? Where can they make a
That's
donation?
right. You can make a donation. He has a GoFundMe page. GoFundMe.
Say Frontline. I would like you to not say he. Just say, Frontline has a GoFundMe page, right?
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
yeah,
Frontline
yeah.
has a GoFundMe page, and but it is set up by Sekou Tafari. He's the owner.
There we
But yeah,
go. Okay,
Frontline, his name is going to be on there, but it's Frontline GoFundMe. And you can go
okay,
on and you can make a donation. You can also go to Frontline's website at frontline.org, and you can make a donation there, or you can purchase books because Frontline also has a publishing entity to their business. He's publishing books,
okay.
and you'll pay less money. He was talking about how much it costs to get a book published, and
Mhm.
distributed now. And so he has delved into that industry, and many of the books that he has in the store, he has published himself. And so he has book bundles for those people that want to get their start reading. And you can purchase book bundles, or you can make a donation of $50 and $100, and you can get free book bundles, or you can go into the store and make purchases. And of course, they have more than books. They also have other cultural items, the shea butter, incense,
Clothing, incense,
clothing,
some
stones,
beverages.
jewelry.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so on this Saturday the 7th, we'll be there doing a concert in order to raise awareness and support for Frontline Books in Harper Court. Myself, Maggie Brown, and Bobby Irving. Bobby, is it just going to be you and I? Will
Well,
we take
actually, no.
any other musicians or what?
So brother Kwame Steve Cobb will be joining us on drums.
Oh, wow.
We in good hands, Wolf.
And
Okay.
and of course, brother Chuckalot, Chuck Hot.
What?
Yeah,
Oh my
he's
gosh, we
great
just
too.
about to have much fun. Whoever doesn't come, shame on you.
I'm
Oh
telling
my goodness.
you.
Now,
Oh
Wow.
my
just so
goodness.
you know, Chuckalot was the bass player for the Emotions for a number of years and did a lot of stuff with Earth, Wind and Fire
Played
as
with a bunch
well.
of everybody,
And
right?
just a great bass
Be a
player, great
bad man.
entrepreneur who actually has his own
Kwame was
magazine
always with
too.
Roy Ayers and just all kind of people
Yeah,
made the wonderful Kwanzaa Seven Principles CD and
that's right.
just oh
Yeah,
man, Kwame,
Kwame
yeah,
is just
yeah, you don't
just
get no
amazing.
better than these cats. Oh my
And
goodness.
Oh,
Ramsey, and I
man.
worked with Ramsey Lewis.
Oh, Ramsey too. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my
And
yeah.
goodness.
see,
So
I asked you two to come, and you, when I called you, Maggie, you told me you were just lamenting about Frontline and how
Right. And what
Frontline.
I realize is that life gets all busy and stuff, and I
Mhm.
pass and stuff. And anytime I'm by Frontline, excuse me, I'm also at the street sign at 52nd and Harper. And if I look up, it says Oscar Brown Jr. Way. Always have to
whoa,
stop and give reverence, right? Because
There
that's
you
right.
go.
Oscar Brown Jr. Way is from 52nd to 53rd along Harper, which makes
Hmm.
sense. Dad did a show at Harper Theater way back in the 60s. All right, but go back. So, yes, I was lamenting. I knew I had heard from some little grapevine that, oh no, the Frontline bookstore might have closed, right? I was like thinking, oh my goodness, what a shame I didn't go in there and buy enough stuff. How could we let this happen? And the person I was talking to said, it's not closed. I said, oh, phew, I better go over there right now and give me something, right? And I swear, if that was a Thursday, by Tuesday, Denise was calling me and saying,
Wow.
hey, check this out. Some I said, oh, okay, Lord, I said I want to do something. And so now here's my opportunity to help and be involved. And
That's
then
Yeah,
right.
she said she was talking to you. And if once you said you were going to do it, we know that even if it was just the two of us, it would be groovy.
exactly.
You're going to
Yeah,
call who you call, and that's going to just
That's
be,
right.
oh my goodness. Oh
and
my goodness.
And
and
who knows who else might show up, you
I'm
exactly.
know?
just
Yeah, you
saying.
all
I know
come
I
on,
talked to Miss
come with it.
Jackson.
There you
I
go.
talked to Miss Santita. What we trying to do? I mean, I'm just saying, yes. So I know we have to do a big flurry with our Facebooks and Instagrams right now so that people are aware, because that's the main thing I felt when I was lamenting, like, see, people just don't know, and we don't know what's going
Hmm.
on, and somehow we have to be more in touch with one another. We have to have more of we have to care more. I don't know. There's no way that all this black intelligentsia shouldn't care about the fact that there are three measly black bookstores,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
one of them's in Oak Park. It's not even in Chicago.
yeah, that's right.
Well, actually, when I
How
say
many places
three,
they sell
when I
blunts? How
okay,
many
when
places
I
they
say
sell woods? How many places
Yeah,
they
when
sell?
I say three,
Uh,
we have Frontline in Hyde Park, and we have the Underground Bookstore
which is
over in
on
Chatham,
87th, right?
on
Right.
87th Street, and then there's the
Yes.
new store, which is Semicolon, and they're located in Wicker
Oh,
Park. She's in Wicker Park,
that's in
and
Wicker Park. So no, when I'm talking about
she's doing
everywhere, that's
great
not
business.
Chicago.
She's doing
I see.
great over there. They're giving all kinds
Well,
of
of course.
resources over there.
She's at Milwaukee and what?
Oh no,
Milwaukee and
she
Damon and
moved.
some.
She
Yeah.
moved.
Oh,
She's
really?
on Division. I want to say right near Division and Damon.
Oh
In
yeah.
that very busy
Jumping.
business district. That's where she's at, and she's got a
Jumping.
huge place.
A lot of disposable income in that neighborhood.
Yes, yes, and I think there's enough in Hyde Park that we should be able to save Frontline.
well, absolutely. And everybody I've spoke to about the event, I get the same response. Yeah, I used to go in there all the time and buy things. Used to is the
Yeah.
operative.
Used to.
And so,
Yeah.
we started to get away from that. But people are definitely concerned and support. Even somebody handed me a $20 bill to give.
Okay.
So I'll be handing it over.
Right.
But yeah, it's a cause. It's an institutional uh, uh, organization that has been in that area for longer than just the 24 years, because before that you had African House International. What was
Well,
Window to
well,
Africa.
you had, it
Window
was
to
a
Africa.
Freedom Found. It was a Freedom Found bookstore,
uh,
Oh
but right
yes.
down, just right down to the south end of the court, you had Windows to Africa.
Windows to Africa. That was right in that
Windows
same
Right.
to
location.
Africa.
Exactly.
So that was a
Yep. Freedom
That's where
cultural.
the
Found
Africa
books.
House
Yep.
started.
So yeah, that was a cultural corner
That's
in
right.
Hyde Park, and in fact, Windows to Africa was the organization that started the African Festival of the Arts,
That's right.
African
which the
Fest
first
in
festival
Western
was right
Park,
there in
y'all.
the court.
Everybody knows
Right
about
there in
that.
Harper Court.
And then it grew
Mhm.
and it moved to, I think, the museum of one of the museums, and then to the current location in Washington Park.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
right.
lot of history, uh, that's there, and legacy that's on that corner and in that area, in that cove. And so, uh, the rent being raised that high, one person said, "Well, is that really sustainable?"
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so that is questionable.
Sure.
But at this juncture, the goal is to first just get back in the black,
That's right. That's right.
and then decisions can be made about if you're going to stay there or
Possible different
relocate or whatever.
location.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
but right
Mhm.
now they just need the support in order to kind of
Hold
keep
on.
going. Yeah, yeah,
Hold
That's
on.
right.
And keep going. Right. And not have to end it and close it. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
That would be a
So we
travesty.
need people to come and enjoy the music, but we also need your
Did we say the
financial
hours?
contributions.
Saturday the 7th, you can come in person and bring a donation or come make purchases and enjoy the music. And
That's
that's
right.
from, we'll be there from what time again?
Well, from 12 to 4.
12 to
We're
4.
starting. We're
Okay.
starting at. We're starting at 12. Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
And the 4. And
and
then also folks can.
Al Sampson
Mhm.
is going to speak,
Oh,
and
nice.
we have Santita,
Oh,
Singer
good. She's coming.
Santita, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we have her
Good.
down to speak, and I would definitely couldn't go without asking Bob Starks to have some words, because Bob Starks, like I said, and Al Sampson has really been.
They responded. Yeah.
They called me. They called me. You know, other people I've had to beat down the doors.
mhm.
Mm.
So I got a whole
Why do we
nother.
suppose that is? Do we have any thoughts about why in the heck? What?
I do not
Why? Who
understand.
doesn't who doesn't promote literacy? Who doesn't promote learning history? Who doesn't promote I know you were saying how like Denise did back in the day, years ago, there used to be sort of like arrangements made where a bookstore like Frontline Books would help
Mhm.
supply some of the books that maybe some of the CPS schools would use.
Right.
So those kinds of contracts would make a big difference for a bookstore, we know.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know, I feel like maybe going forward, Frontline, there just has to be maybe more done, maybe with the window space, because you do get good traffic between the
Mm-hmm.
students walking past and people like myself who are making sure I look up at daddy's sign, whenever I pass. But just all the cars coming for that populated area. Like something, I don't know, there's just gonna have to be some things that bring people in there more. That maybe conspire with Silver Room and all
Mm-hmm.
them and whatever's
Well,
coming up
one of the things
to
that I
just have
did,
like go ahead.
one of the things that I did ask is that the underground, um, and Afriware, who you're thinking that's in Oak Park, but she's actually in Maywood. But
Mhm.
in
Oh, she
Zinga,
moved. Okay, she moved.
yeah,
Okay.
she's in Maywood, but she's so supportive of what we do here in Chicago, and she has a space over a bookstore in Trinity Church as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so we just include her, in the mix. But so Afriware and Underground are going to be present at the event to show their support, to show their solidarity. I was talking to them about people that we have had on this podcast that have been in business for 40 years, 50 plus years, going on 60 years. They talked about how they would share their business with other people. So if it's something that they didn't have, like out of the past records, you familiar with out of the past records on the West Side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she said she once owned 10 businesses on the West Side, just herself. And there were lots of other people that had businesses. And so if it's something that she didn't have, she would tell them to go over to this other bookstore or go over there, or they would call her. You know, we have to start to connect and be more supportive, you know.
That's true. And then we also have to do something else, which is, I don't know, sometimes we will, you know, what do you call it? Patronize a business. And then we feel like we've really gotten funky treatment, you know, treatment that you shouldn't really get when you're patronizing a place. And so then instead of like writing them or, you know, bringing it to their attention, not in any confrontational way necessarily at the register, I'm not talking about that, but to maybe let it be known. Sometimes when I go into an establishment and the people act in a way that, you know, good and well, management and certainly the owner does not know you're behaving this way, because this is not good for business. This does not make me want to come back. It almost makes me want to be mad at you, right? Okay, so now I've definitely gotten that, where in terms of sometimes there could be, you know, attitudes up in the store. So we'll just call that out, say, hey, check it out. Anybody that does come in, I mean, I understand if they're not acting right, but yeah, it has to be something a little more warm. It has to be inviting. And when I was talking about like certain things, maybe in the window, whether it's these like campaigns that will make a student like something that incentivizes them to want to come in and come in, at least stop in and get something and check something. You know, something's going to have to be done, because unfortunately we live in a world where folks are being enticed, you know, they're being incentivized. And so we're going to have to find something that turns them on, you know, and
you know, Maggie,
their curiosity too. And good customer service is important.
Absolutely. Right. And that's one of the reasons that we started this organization, where we talked about bringing a business manager in to help them train their employees. Because I noticed when I first started going to Whole Foods, the service, one of the great things about Whole Foods is the service was so great. You know, kind of attentive. The way they gave the attention that they gave you, the knowledge that they had about the products, you know.
Now you can't find nobody.
And now Amazon owns it. It's totally different, you know. And so
excuse me, I had a question about the vitamins. Excuse me, is there anyone in this area? Hello? Self-service aisles. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, that comes from training, you know. Training your people. And a lot of people just hire people. They show them how to work the cash register and tell them what they have in the store, and that's it.
As consumers, don't we have to demand more?
No.
We just go off with our little attitude and talk about them. Like, well, I don't like him in there, whatever, and forget after a while and go back in. They might insult you again or throw the change at you and not say thank you. You say thank you and they don't even say thank you, and you're buying from them. Little things that then you're like, well, wait a minute, you couldn't have been trained like that. You're supposed to make me feel like I'm really glad I just supported that place. You know, and so I'm just saying that we have to maybe respectful, what do you call it? You know, a positive criticism way. We have to check each other. We have to check ourselves.
Right.
Well,
so that we feel welcome.
The culture
and get some feedback from your customers, you know, on what they think and what they want. You can put a little box up there, and did you like the service, or what didn't you like, and not being so defensive, because you know we'll get defensive about that. You know, you don't like my service? I mean, I've experience. I've had it. Oh, you don't like the way I cut your grass? You know, no, I don't. Well,
but the culture has kind of devolved, though, to mediocrity, and mediocrity is just becoming the norm.
Ain't nobody trying to be all excellent and all outstanding.
And it goes back to the educational system, and because the educational system has been dumbed down, we're not teaching cursive writing anymore. So there's no personality. It's robotic education, and so that's kind of filters down to the workplace. So it's no wonder that would happen. And it goes back to reading, starting with reading again.
Right.
It just goes back to that same place.
And even in the schools, they've taken out recess. Now, look at all of the socialization that occurs during recess.
Recess, yeah.
Right? So you learn how to talk to people, or you learn how to negotiate, and you have your conversation.
But I bet they got transgender class though still.
No.
Right.
But don't teach no critical race theory, whatever you do. Oh.
Yeah.
See?
So they don't have
no children in
become
school.
Recessed.
No.
Oh,
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I heard someone call in on the radio this morning, and as it was really interesting, the lady's comment. She was talking about the way our children talk, and she said they need to be taught English the same way foreigners are, but they learn how to say, like in French, je suis means, I am in English. And our kids need to learn that I be means I am. And it's like they have another whole language that they're speaking. And if that is the case, and you're not teaching grammar, in English, it is definitely going to have an adverse effect on your comprehension of reading, of literacy.
Absolutely.
Trying to read a book, trying to comprehend what's going on in that piece of literature.
Yes.
You don't have the fundamental skills to even come to that. And all of this is by design. I mean, this isn't just happening.
No accident, not an accident.
And I think that's why we have so much violence. People go from A to Z. No in between. No in between.
Yeah.
How would we do this? How would we start? Okay, because we always talk about our children, and yes, we have to, focus on them, but we have to focus on the parents. Some of these young parents, I mean, they really didn't get what they needed and got pregnant anyway, just out here wilding out or what have you, because we haven't been necessarily teaching the importance of, first of all, I was scared. I was like, can you imagine having another person to be responsible for and I have to feed them and clothe them? It's as if some people don't even think about all that. They just like do it, and then the baby coming and I don't know, maybe they think mama gonna take care of it. My mama gone. So I couldn't even think that. And all I'm saying is that, like, there has been some pre-programming. Didn't I mention my grandfather? Born in 1898, died in 1980 or 90 or something like that. So that ain't that long ago.
That's right.
It isn't that long ago that our minds have been reprogrammed to be so damn disrespecting, to be so irreverent, to be apathetic and ignorant and pleased with that. It hasn't been that long, and so we stopped. I say, like, okay, what happened? We started wanting our children to have the things that they had, we did without so much for so long that when maybe we started to be able to acquire these things, we were so focused on those things, and they held them up as if they made it, you appear to be something when you had those things. And now that we've gotten those things, we have hardly any respect for our grandmothers. We would talk the most ridiculous stuff out loud on a bus, no matter whose mama's present. And it's just like, it isn't that long. So it changed into this, and it could make me cry. It changed into this, and something has to be done to make it change out of it. Because, man, the fools, it's like the class clowns and running things. We got to sit them down and get the really smart and hip people in the class at the front of the room.
Yeah,
man. Life lessons I learned in reading.
Yeah.
To give them something to reflect on. You're not just going to know. Children have to be taught empathy and gratitude and respect. That has to be taught. And so it's taught in the home, it's taught at school, it's taught in the community, it's taught through literature.
Absolutely. But Denise, I just want
Yes,
to remind you of the time and the fact that your colleague was supposed to be coming on before we close.
let
Oh,
me see if she is here.
so we're gonna be there from noon to 4 on Saturday the 7th at I'm gonna say Freedom Found because that's what I remember for real. And from Frontline Books in Harper Court. Come support, come help an institution that's managed to hold on for a really long time when many businesses have come and gone. An institution that represents some of the best hope we have
Yes.
for educating ourselves and our children and for finding important, meaningful things to gather around.
That's
Important,
right.
meaningful things to gather around. So when Denise, when you call me from your HIP organization, Restore, to do something, it goes
Okay.
even beyond Saturday the 7th at Frontline. But yeah, there has to be some things probably implemented in that location that's
Yeah.
going to bring more people in
Okay.
there, that's going to bring more activity. Are y'all hip to Dr. Greg Carr and
Yeah.
Professor Karen Hunter? And they have, In Class with Carr every Saturday on YouTube. But then
Mhm.
they started Narrative with a Knarr, narrative.com, and Nubia. So these are serious Africana study think tanks. They put all the Black bookstores on a listing. There's book clubs. There's all kinds of things about Black wealth, all kinds of things, but just some of the most scholarly and academically minded folks that have like
Can
been
see you.
about that life. We're gonna study and get down to the root of why this stuff is hooking us and hanging us up this way. We can break it down so you can see it. What needs
Mhm.
to change? They've been doing that, and now they've come together in a wonderful community
Yeah.
Mhm.
that to me is very important. Is very important for Frontline, for city organization Restore.
Start.
Repair, restore, and grow Black communities.
Repair,
That's
restore,
our
and grow back. That if
organization,
you
and we're fighting to help our businesses. And when we found out about Frontline, because we have a bookstore on our website. Every month we feature a Black bookstore that we came out the gate supporting our Black bookstores. And
were
so
you
this,
familiar with Narrative and Dr. Carr and In Class with Carr?
no,
You
I
know what
was
I'm
not.
talking about?
No, I
Oh,
was
that's
not.
see, that's no. That has to change. That has to change
Hmm.
because there's no
And
way.
that's a
Like they
problem,
list
Maggie.
all the Black bookstores around the nation, and I'm pretty sure y'all are
Hmm.
on there. But nonetheless, I'm just saying that there needs to be, the wheel does not need to be reinvented. It's here,
Just need to be
and we
connecting.
we all little spokes, and we just need to put ourselves into the little
That's right.
hub together and realize,
That's right.
so that we can roll, so we can
That's
roll
right.
because what they're doing is very global,
Hmm.
very reality based, truth based, factual based, Africana studies for real based. And so there's no way that this is where maybe we're all lacking, where we somehow don't hook up and connect in ways that would just empower all of us anyway. We
Right.
build on each other. So we that's a desire that'll be in my prayers, that we just are better and more effective with that, and our youth will come up with ways, to help
Hmm.
make that more efficient. Because we can so all be connected now with the internet and everything.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Well,
indeed.
we are coming to the top of the hour. I was hoping Doris would be able to come in
Oh, I
and
see
announce.
Doris's marquee. Doris, are you there? There?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm
I
here.
Oh,
can't.
nice. I see it now.
Your
But
video is
my
not on.
She'll get there.
wait a minute, what the hell did I not do?
Denise
Yeah.
don't play that. You can't have your video
Oh,
off.
There you go.
See,
that
you with us.
was
There
the
you
problem.
go.
Doris.
I didn't have my camera up. I'm sorry, Denise. But Maggie, you were just talking about Dr. Carr and Karen. I listened to them, so I'm familiar with what you're talking about. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, and what I want to thank you and Bobby for coming on. we just cannot express enough how much we appreciate what you all are trying to help us to do. And we have to keep this bookstore open. It is an institution, and as Black people, we cannot allow another Black institution die. And so we are calling politicians, if you're listening to us, you have our information, you help other groups, help your own. You all are in the position to come up with money to help Black men and women who are in business who are having a problem. And he's having a problem. We've got to get him out of this rut. He's in a rut.
That's right.
He needs help, just like everybody else got in a little trouble during COVID. So come forward, help this brother. Make your own personal donations. You can go to his website.
I did.
You can come over
I
and
did.
buy
You
a book.
can
Yeah,
too.
Maggie did. I've done it. I'm gonna go back. You can make a personal contribution. You can come over and buy a book. You can send your family members. It's a whole lot of things we can do. And I will
Saturday, you could get your Mother's Day presents
absolutely.
for the aunties and the
Right.
grandmas that
Bring your mother. Bring your mother.
And he has he's a bundle.
My mom is coming.
Yeah, he has bundles of books, great books. You're not going to find any books like this anyplace else. Lerone Bennett, a Chicagoan, a historian.
used to live down the street.
He
from the
lived right
bookstore.
in the building with me, a Newport condominium. I mean, so we've had we've got great people from this city. So we cannot allow this bookstore to die. We cannot. And there's so
Okay,
many.
Laura, now don't forget to
I'm not
announce
going to forget, but let me
our book of the month.
I have it here. You know, we have sat back. When I say we, Black people, we have sat back and allowed a lot of these things that are happening to us now. We've allowed it. So it's time for us to step up to the plate for our children, for the future. It's up to us. So now that
we have to encourage some urgency, like even with my own boys and just other young people. Like before, there was a sense of urgency. There was like almost no choice. Like, what the heck? You gonna just sit on the sidelines? You're not gonna do something about how ridiculous this is for our people? But we have gotten pretty comfortable. I mean, Netflix and all them things. You know, we can go out and get some scrimps and all that stuff. And so, you know, we pretty chill, unfortunately. But not taking the long view, not taking the big picture, not looking at, you know, the big picture and what's at stake.
It's due to this lack of consciousness on the part of our young people, because we haven't done what we're supposed to do. We really haven't done a very good job.
We started wanting things for them. Yeah.
And so we have let these children down. They are what we have allowed them to become. When I say us, this middle class Black people, these so-called middle-class Black folks, we have not done our job. So you can.
Is it acceptable to sag? Is it acceptable to talk to women like that? Is it acceptable to call each other B and H on the bus in front of everybody? If we're not standing up, and we don't necessarily feel empowered. Like, I don't necessarily want to get up on the bus and be like, girl, if you don't stop talking like that, I'm going to have to, because then you might not see me no more. But there's this thing, the music, like, okay, so Junior was making money, but Junior was talking about that hole's a bit, drop it down low. And I'm like, how could you accept that? How could you act like it's okay for Junior to make money that way? I'm not saying that criminality hasn't always, we've had to do things to hustle and make money that wasn't necessarily above the law. But all I'm saying is it became so much more acceptable to just do anything, say anything, and have any old kind of posture that just 2 generations ago, no, you couldn't talk like that, you couldn't walk like that, you couldn't act like that, you can't leave out the house acting like that. They still had a little sense of like, cause your butt will get killed, first of all, but they also wanted you to represent
and
stop letting them win by thinking we're low down and we just trifling and act crazy and don't respect and stop giving them that, please.
And you know what, Maggie?
The other part is we allow our young people, we give in and we go along with what they want to do. That's what's happening,
And we have
even the way we're teaching them now. Well, let's give it to them this way. And let's teach the math this way, because this is what they're going to listen to. We're not being the adults.
And you know, we've got to stop being afraid of our children. I live a block from Kenwood, and there are days when I'm over there during the time Kenwood is letting out. And I hear the
Yeah.
girls, you be this, you hold this. And you know what?
Girl.
I stop and I say,
Mm-mm.
excuse me, young ladies, you are so beautiful. Your grandmother wouldn't appreciate you using that kind of language. And you know what? They listen.
What?
They
Mhm.
listen.
Okay, good. I'm glad they ain't
You
cut
can't
you
go
out.
after
Monica.
you can't
Yeah.
go after them calling them B. You can't do that
No.
with them. You've got to
No,
go
oh,
to
no,
a
no.
loving
No.
another direction, and
Yes.
they will listen. And you know, people say, "Well, I'm not going to say." I cannot pass young people and hear
No.
them cursing and calling each other bitches. I cannot do it and not say anything. If I don't, then I
Yeah.
have failed. I have failed. But anyway, let me
Okay.
mention this book. The name of the book that we're promoting this month is What They Never Told You in History Class by Indus
Ooh.
Hamid Kush.
Ah.
Indus
Oh, I'm
Hamid
sure they were talking
Kush.
about
What
that.
They Never
Mhm.
Told You in History Class. And as a former teacher, I know they weren't teaching them anything in history class in the Chicago public school system. And it's worse now. So I still put this on us. We allowed it. We allowed
Okay.
it. And
All
again,
right.
We
Maggie,
did.
You.
We did. We wanted to have some. We
Yeah.
wanted to have some. We got us a good job. It took.
yep,
Listen, when I was raising them, I had to be out the house. What? Shoot, I'm really working just to pay for childcare, and it's crazy. So I think I got to work all these hours, send my children over here for them to be deprogrammed incorrectly, and then have a few hours with them, try to keep up with their homework, and then after some decades and decades, a couple of generations of that, and now we look up and.
what
Because
happened to
we
the
kind of
children?
let go of the reins, especially in the urban, not in the suburbs. They watch, they come to school, they do all that stuff, but they're home housewives. But in the urban cities, we was busy doing whatever we were doing, and next thing you know, listen, my son went to a High Park school, and one year he had the same teacher for his homeroom for several years. He was a man, and he happened to graduate, my son. But that next year, that man was now a woman teaching at the same school. And I'm just saying,
Mm.
yeah, when we take our hands out the reins, you start having like bills that
That's
say you
right.
can't teach the truth, which is they call that critical race truth theory. It's
Uh-huh.
really the truth. It's the real history. You can't teach that, but you can teach this transgender thing.
Yep,
You can teach them how to be in the same bathroom together, and you
yep.
and then we just like back working and just trying to keep up with the Joneses and pay bills, and we're not paying no attention to
Right.
this
And
crazy
losing
That's
our
right.
madness that they're
And we're
feeding
losing
our
a
children.
whole
losing our
generation. We're losing a whole generation. And
Couple of
so,
them now,
okay,
Keith, if we don't hurry
we're,
up, couple of them.
well, Bobby and Maggie, thank you so much
Thank you
for
guys. Thank you
what
so
you
much.
are doing. And thank you for coming on our
You would
show.
want
And
to be in Harper Court this Saturday,
This
the 12th,
Saturday.
that's right,
somewhere
12 to
between
4.
noon and 4. Bring some
12
money,
and
save
4.
it up, cash that check, bring it over, and come see. Bobby got some of the baddest musicians about to come, and we're gonna hook up a set or two. And
Yeah.
yeah, you want to be there, and you need to support. You need to start coming and hanging out at the bookstore and buying some
Frontline.
stuff. Yeah,
Frontline Books.
Absolutely.
52nd
Absolutely.
and Harper.
Okay, Bobby, you had something you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to say that the bookstore has figuratively and literally been on the front line,
Yep,
bringing us the
Ooh.
culture. And so now we need to get on the front line,
right. And
support them.
save it. Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And in
That's a
order
good
to
one.
win that book, you guys, all you have to do is go to rrgbc.org and subscribe to our website. We give a book away every month. No
Every
tricks. We mail it to you, and it's free of charge because we know how important it is to read. And so
if
I
we
want to
have
thank everyone for coming tonight.
Thank
And I'm
you.
looking for you, everybody, on Saturday between
7th.
12 and 4 at Frontline Books, 1507 East 5206 East 52nd Street.
52nd and Harper.
53rd, on 53rd and East 5206 on Harper, South Harper. I'm getting everything confused. Okay,
Thank you,
you
Maggie.
guys.
And it's your Mother's
Bobby.
Day book.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all. Thank you both.
Blessings. See you
Blessings.
Saturday.
Bye.